What do you think it means for Devin Bush?
For Devin, man, I think you better understand that, hey, Myles does a lot of the things that I do, except he does them a lot better. The Steelers typically don't want two of the same players on the inside because we know how you can struggle with that. I think of, when it was Vince and Ryan Shazier, right? They were very different, right? One was your thumper and one was your elite cover guy. Okay. When it was then Vince and John Bostic, both of those guys were real similar. So they struggled in certain situations, right? Then when it was Vince and LJ Fort or Mark Barron or I'm drawing a blank on it. It was another guy in that mix as well. Maybe I think it was Avery Williams.
Devin Bush was here with Barron.
Yeah. But it's like, man, you need who is your elite cover guy? And none of those guys really developed into that, right? We thought Mark could be that guy, but he really didn't develop into it the way that we wanted. Then when we tried to move Devin to that role, he struggled in it as well. If you're Devin, you got to realize, like, man, I need to either figure out how to cover at a higher level or I got to get my blitz package up a lot more because right now Myles can blitz and the coverage that we're going to ask him to do is what you would typically want Devin to do in terms of being a middle runner on Tampa 2, in terms of matching with some of these running backs and then just zone dropping good vision on the quarterback. Myles does all of that at a way higher level than Devin Bush right now. So to me, I still think the Steelers could potentially take a linebacker. I mean, if Devin Lloyd's sitting there at 20, I love that because I'm pairing him with Myles Jack, and I think that those two balance each other out perfectly. Whereas right now, like I said, with Devin, I don't think he's going to be released. I'm not even trying to go that route. But in terms of him being the shoe-in to be the starter, I don't think that's a guarantee right now. I do think there's a possibility that the team will still bring in a more athletic, more coverage, oriented linebacker, even a Chad Muma type in the second round who we talked about. Trey Anderson, we brought him up in the mid-round as well. Those are guys that specialize or have just the projection of being able to be top-notch cover linebackers in the league. And that's the thing for Devin that he has to improve upon in a hurry to make himself more valuable in that area.
Because right now we are literally probably 2 players away in free agency from being able to draft with that luxury going in of just, all right, we have kind of a position of need, but let's just draft best player available as well. Because we could go with Myles Jack and Devin Bush right now. Or if Devin Lloyd is there, we could still draft him, and then there's a little competition, or we see how things play out. Same thing with receiver, nose tackle. Like if Tuitt's coming back, defensive line's fine, but I mean we basically hit on every position thus far in free agency outside of safety.
Agree. Yeah.
So all right, let's just take Jordan Davis then, and we could split time with him, Tyson Alualu. That's why I'm really complimentary of Colbert and the job he's done.
Yeah, we're in an awesome space right now in terms of, like you said, not having to draft for need. We could go best player available. And, whether it's Jordan Davis, whether it's, like you said, a Devin Lloyd, or maybe it's a receiver or whoever they feel like they want to take, they have that luxury. They have that flexibility. And I think we both kind of agree that as long as it's not a quarterback, I think we love it because it's like, man, we know we're going to get impact. We know we're going to get a good player that's also going to be able to help us these next, not just next season, but the seasons going forward as well. But, for Devin, man, like I said, man, this is one of those situations where just be aware. If they bring in a guy, it's not for Myles Jack because Myles is getting 8 now. That guy's not coming off the field. He's the green dot guy. He's going to have the C on his chest. He's a leader out there. Devin, though, insane that we I don't know if this is a good transition or not, but insane that we got Myles Jack and more cap space in return for cutting Schobert and also Zach Banner. Yeah, man.
That's insane, bro.
Yeah. But that's a part of it, right? And that was the difference that we did, or the difference of this year versus last year. Last year when we said, hey, we can move certain players, cut certain players, and create cap space, we waited until what? Free agency was pretty much over. Yeah. And then we started to do that, and we're like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Whereas this time around, it made perfect sense, and they did it in a timely fashion, so now we can actually utilize that money to go out there and spend some more. Because if I remember correctly, we should be around like 12, 13 mils still available in terms of being under the cap. So I'm like, man, this is like a dope situation. And now when you're making other moves like that, and they still could do some other stuff, it's like, yo, this is good right here. This is what we want to see, man.
Yeah, that's still a Tuitt restructure, maybe, who knows, even a TJ restructure, a way of getting that maybe up to 30.
Easily. And that's the thing, like, And that's the part where I'm still waiting to see like what happens with Tua, because he's kind of like the little wild card in a sense. Because we said, man, if he's available, well, you're not worried about, you know, signing somebody in free agency to come and fill his role. And even in the draft, you don't feel the pressure of having to get somebody early to fill his role. But if he's not available, well, then now it makes you say, okay, do you want to fill this in free agency? Excuse me, or do you fill this through the draft? But we still are kind of like not really knowing what is happening with him 100% right now.
Yeah. Anything we're missing on Myles Jack? Like, it's just a great deal. Yeah. Great player, affordable contract, position of need. Is there anything? What are we missing here?
Is there anything to say negative about it? I mean, I cut the tape on. I'm watching him.
I really don't
cut the tape on. I'm like, I know exactly who Myles Jack is. I'm a fan of Myles Jack. I love his game as a linebacker. I see him run the middle seam. I see him match up well with running backs. He's physical. Even though he's not a like dominant thumper type linebacker when he comes downhill, he plays with such great technique, pad level hat in hands, that he shocks big linemen, man. He's always finding that ball. And that's the other thing. He doesn't miss a ton of tackles. Because remember, that was the thing we talked about with Devin as well. It was like Devin is like crazy athletic, especially before the injury. And it was like, man, you watch him and he misses a ton of tackles at times. Myles Jack doesn't miss tackles. He's one of those guys that, yeah, if he's near the ball carrier, man, open field, in the hole, he's bringing that guy down. Or he's slowing him down enough that the cavalry can come over there and finish him off as well. But he is super efficient defensively, man. Like I said, this is an awesome pickup, man. Awesome pickup.